Yo, what's going on, guys? Rhys here from Stoic Pool, and in this episode of Catalyst Talk, I catch up with Brian from GAIA Pool, where we talk about his connecting tabletop games and Cardano proposal for Fund 8. So he's created, designed, and built a card game that features some of the most prevalent stake pools in Cardano, including your mate Rhys. Maybe. I mean, he hasn't confirmed that. It's just a suggestion, subliminal messaging for Brian. He's a really nice guy. We have a great conversation. It's really fun and super relaxed. So sit back and enjoy. Right, guys. So I'm joined with Brian here, and Brian, do you want to just introduce yourself and a little bit about what you do in Cardano, because you are a busy boy.
All right. Thanks very much for having me on the show, Rhys. My name is Brian. I am the SPO of GAIA Pool, and I am currently also building a tabletop game called Cardano Edition. And I have a proposal in for Catalyst Fund 8 in the Gamers on Chain category. The proposal is connecting tabletop gamers and Cardano. So I see that as an area that there's lots of room to explore. A lot of people are connecting digital games to Cardano, but not physical games. So there's a lot of tabletop gamers out there who love to play games, and there's a high demand for it. So I figured, why not give it a shot? I love games, and tabletop games in particular. So this is the project that I've been working on for the past year. I know I'm involved in a lot of other communities as well, like German pools, climate neutral Cardano. And,
that's actually what I was talking about. We get to the game in a sec.
yeah, sure. So climate neutral Cardano, it's been a pretty exciting group to be a part of. So we were involved in the Veritree Cardano Forest project. I joined that project kind of about halfway through. I got invited to the group, and it was exciting to see the stuff that they were doing. Actually, looking to accomplish things in Cardano, like some kind of specific goals for the environment. So that group provided the information about like the power consumption of the nodes on Cardano at the time, just like an estimate, so that we could figure out how many trees needed to be planted to offset the Cardano blockchain. Yeah. So that was kind of the goal with Cardano Forest, to offset the energy by 4 times. So now that project's been a success, and trees are being planted and redeemed. So the second redemption period just happened. So another 125,000 trees were redeemed. People can get different NFTs for redeeming their tree tokens. So that's pretty exciting. And there'll be more redemption periods until that full 1 million trees has been claimed. And this is just based on they need to have trees planted to redeem. So as throughout the year, as more trees get planted, then more redemption periods will open up. Just to let you know, everything is actually verified. Trees are actually being planted. So, and then, so that's been exciting. Another thing the Climate Neutral Cardano group is working on is calculating the actual energy usage of all of Cardano. So that was a successfully funded project in Fund 7. So now the goal is to deliver on that, and they're working with the Pond Foundation to do that and get an independent audit as well, because we need somebody outside of Cardano to actually help calculate that, and that it is actually what would you say?
Honest numbers.
What's that?
Honest numbers.
Yes. So
yeah, it's difficult to calculate, because it's not easy to track. Right. And you don't know what people are running. And I know from talking with Christian as well, it's not just they're not just interested in the nodes either anymore. They're interested in everything else that stake pool operators run, and potentially, I remember when I was talking with Christian before, he was going on about bills and services for people's houses as well. And I was like, maybe that's a little too in depth,
what I guess it depends on Well, yeah, he is a very thorough guy, so I
He
know
is, yeah.
that. But if an SPO is running their node from home, that does have to be kind of factored in.
Yeah. It's funny how much, like, how deep they want to go on it. It's not a bad thing. It's just a lot of people go, oh yeah, how much power does one cost? Oh yeah, we'll just times it by 1,000, and then we'll go, yeah, well that'll do roughly, But they're like, no, we need to figure out everything. We need to know exactly how much it is. We need to know everything about it so that we can properly account for that. And it's good. It's good. But I really like him. He is funny, and nothing gets past him. Nothing gets past him.
I think he's the perfect guy to be leading that project. So.
Yeah. I really want to go and meet him and have a beer with him or something, because I think it'll be a really good conversation.
Well, you guys are fairly close, so.
Yeah, right? I mean, the same island. Yeah. It probably isn't that far, actually. You're right. Compared to some places. I mean, you're in Canada, aren't you? Is that right? Yeah. So everything's about the same distance from me to him. For you, like going to the shop is like that, isn't it? From what I've heard of Canada, anyway. I've never been, to be honest.
Things are pretty far apart. Like the closest next biggest city from us is about an hour away in any direction.
Okay, that's not too bad.
Okay.
Couple of 3 days walk,
Yeah, you're not going to be walking.
So, I love games. I don't get the chance to play them very often, but I grew up playing like card games with my family, like grandparents and everyone that love it. So I love card games. I think my girlfriend's just come home, so she'll be featured in the video today. But yeah, so let's talk a little bit about this, right? Because this kind of thing really appeals to me. Like, it just sounds fun.
Oh, great.
Right? And so let's get into it. So you briefly mentioned what the project was called before, but the actual proposal's named slightly differently, right? It's called Connecting Tabletop Games and Cardano. So let's just introduce that properly. Tell me a little bit about it, and I'm just going to shut that door quickly while you do so she doesn't come in squawking.
Oh, sure.
I'm not going far.
Okay. So, yeah.
Sorry about that.
Oh, no, it's all good. So, the name of the proposal is Connecting Tabletop Games and Cardano. So this is kind of like the pilot test of this kind of idea, right? So we're doing this through our first game, Captivate Cardano Edition. And it's a fast-paced tabletop card game of strategy, skill, and memory. And you can have up to 2 to 4 players. You flip over cards and capture them to score points. But you have to watch out, as your opponents can be planning their own strategies. So the cards feature iconic characters from Cardano pop culture, like Charles Hoskinson, the king of the rats.
Your mate Rhys. Right? I'm only kidding. Well, I don't think I'm a card yet. Sorry, I didn't mean to spin you out a bit there.
It's not good. Yeah. Basically, you can combine themes or multiple decks for exciting battles, and to increase the number of players to 5 or more. So there will be other themes in the future other than Cardano. We also have a podcast about cryptozoology called Rocky Mountain Cryptids. So we want to do a cryptid theme as well. So we'll be able to combine these themes just to connect different different play groups, people who are interested in different things, and we'll also do a fantasy theme as well. It's actually been a couple of people who have reached out to us to do some custom cards. So those will be themed according to those projects. Like 80 Yetis is one of them. So we could potentially do a custom Rhys card as well in the future.
Stoic card.
Yeah,
I don't think I should be on it, but maybe like a Seneca or something like that would be nice. I'm not that good, right?
So, yeah, and to kind of figure out how the cards will work for the custom ones. Basically, those can be wild cards, and it would just be a print and play kind of card. We're not going to produce the physical cards for those. But, it could be something fun, and it could be just under house rules. But yeah, so the features of Captivate, it's quick to learn, and even for a large group. It's going to be pretty challenging to master, though, just because there are a lot of different things to keep track of and to keep your friends and you playing the game over and over again to learn.
Okay. So before we get too deep into it, right?
Oh, yeah,
Let's just try and visualize what the game would look like.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
So in like some card games, you have your hand. Some card games, you have a whole portion of the deck, and sometimes you have like the deck in the middle, and you all draw out. Right. So what's kind of how is it laid out? I want to try and imagine playing.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
That's why.
Okay. So each player gets dealt 5 cards for their hand. And then the remaining cards get put in the middle. To start the game, you flip over the top card of the deck and lay that down. And that's the card everybody plays off at the start. So going in turn order, clockwise, whoever plays first, they basically want to, depending on what card is revealed, you may want to play a card to flip it, or play a card just somewhere else because you don't necessarily want to capture it, or maybe not play a card at all because you just don't want that card. So
okay. And what's the aim of doing that? Like, am I trying to capture as much of the deck as I can?
Yeah. So as you play through, the cards are numbered 1 to 13. So like a regular poker style card deck. So those numbers are both like the card value. So how much points that card is worth, and also a way to flip cards. So if you play a 2 next to a 1, your 2 will flip that 1, and then you can capture it with another card from your hand. So, so you can flip over as many cards as you want in a turn, as long as you have cards to do that with. And then you can choose to capture or not. But if you don't capture cards, then your opponents can capture them on their turns.
Okay, and once it's flipped, your opponent wouldn't need to then flip it again for them to try and capture it. All they need to do is essentially have a higher value card to take that one.
Yeah, you can place any card on top of a flipped card.
Oh, okay. So realistically, there's no point in not capturing it, right?
It depends. If you flip over a 1, you might not want to capture it, because then you, like if you have like a 2 or 3 or even a 7 in your hand, you play that down, then maybe it's open for your opponent to flip over and capture the next turn.
Yeah, it might almost be a waste playing a higher card to capture it. Yeah. Okay, I see that kind of where the strategy part comes in there. Okay, awesome. So how long, this might be a silly question, but how long do you expect a game like this to last?
They're pretty quick matches. So the time is based on how many people are in the group at the time and how familiar everyone is to the game, but it ranges anywhere from 10 to 40 minutes. Okay.
Yeah, so like pretty reasonably fast game, right? You kind of get through it, and you could easily sit down with a couple of drinks and a couple of friends and play, like 4 or 5 rounds in an evening.
Yes.
Okay, wicked.
And there's actually an alternate way to flip cards as well.
I get it, Brian. So Brian's one of those people, right, who pretends to tell you the rules, but he keeps half of the rules a secret for himself so he can play it. Yeah, no, I get you, mate. Yeah, no, I see it. I see it straight for you, mate. See it straight for you. I always play, right? I was playing with Super Mario Smash Brothers on the what's the Switch.
Yeah.
Right? But have you ever played on the Switch?
Yep, I have a Switch.
So you know that you can dismount like the controllers, and you can play one tiny little controller each. So you can play loads of people, yeah? And I was playing it, and one of my mates is exactly like that. I'm like, what does B do? And he goes, oh, I don't remember. Oh, cheers, mate. It's only one of the most important buttons in the whole game, but you don't remember what it does. And then we were complaining because he kept beating us. And we'd choose a character and he'd go, oh, that's an interesting one. Like that. And he'd be like, well, what does that tell me, mate? Cheers. I don't know.
That doesn't tell you anything.
I know,
like,
exactly.
Character?
I know, it's mysterious and it just makes you a bit nervous, right? Give me a chance, right? So, yeah, anyway.
Yeah. So no, I'm not like that. I just figured, let you understand that first concept.
Yeah, no, I'm only playing.
So the second way you can flip cards is there are power dots on each side of the card. And depending on which card it is, those are all different, as well as the suit. So a green card would have different dot placement than a blue card. So basically there are dots 1 to 4 on each side of the card. And then depending on where you place that, it can also flip a card based on that.
Okay, so if the dots match up, then you can use that as like a flip. Yeah,
so if the suit of the card matches and the dots match, then you can flip that way. And it doesn't matter what the card value is in the corner of that card. It can be a 1.
Yeah. Like that basically trumps the value, right?
Yeah. And then if those dots are just higher in general, like if it's a 4 versus a 2, then it'll flip it. It doesn't matter what suit.
Yeah. So you're basically looking at the dots as a completely different scale of whether or not you can take the action, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. I mean, it sounds pretty like simple. It's like conceptually, it's not hard to imagine playing it, right? Initially, I thought it might be more like complex. So like when I first looked at the proposal, I wasn't sure if it was going to be like more of like a Magic the Gathering, or whether it was going to, like, or how Pokemon used to play, although no one really played it, right? Or if it was going to be something just like Madness, like Cards Against Humanity or something like that, right? So, okay. So it's somewhere in the middle. It's like a kind of regular a game you play with like a normal deck of cards.
Yeah, pretty light and fast.
Yeah.
The first game is
right?
Yeah. The first game is usually like a little bit of a learning experience, but after that, it's pretty easy to get a hold of things. So.
Yeah. So, do all of the cards have different characters, or do you just have like suit cards that have characters on them?
Yeah, so each card, so number 1 is the Rat, Charles Hoskinson. And then each suit has a different color, including the artwork. So the 4 suits are Earth, Water, Light, and Dark. So green, blue, yellow, and purple. Yep. And then they also have a suit icon in the corner where you would normally see a suit icon on a regular playing card.
Yeah, but it's more like based on elements almost,
right,
rather than classic suits. And you do have some images, guys, on the proposal, which I'll link to below, by the way. You can go and check this out. And they do have images to show you these things. And it's quite funny that our mate Charlie has a crown. Number 1, right? And you have a bunch of different images actually shown on the proposal to give more of a kind of definitive example of different characters and different cards. And I don't know what this one is. The snake, is that Ouroboros? Is that where that comes from?
That is Viper Stake Pool.
Oh, Viper Stake Pool. Okay, yeah. Fair enough. So I'm kind of gutted that I wasn't invited.
I've only been going through like
3,000 stake pools, right? And you didn't pick me.
So I was trying to go with characters of Cardano. So
no, it's all right. I'm only messing. So do you have Eye of the King?
So I haven't reached out to him yet, but that is the card I would like to do for number 4. The bird. Okay. So
yeah. So let's have a little think about what other characters we got then. So who else? Who do you have confirmed?
I don't have anybody else confirmed yet. I've been reaching out to them as I go. So once I get the art done for, like, say, card 2, I reached out to Viper and was like, hey, this is a project. These are the cards I've done. Like to feature you in it. Would you be okay with that? So.
Okay, cool. And because there are obviously a lot to pick from, and at the minute there are only 13 cards if you're having 4 times the same one. So it's a lot more work, obviously. But have you thought about doing a different one for every suit? Well, of course you have. Of course you have, right? So why not do that?
Just the amount of work. And it also kind of fits with the NFT kind of theme where NFTs have like slight variations. Yeah. It is a lot easier to do, but it also works with the suits. And then like a suit of cards.
It's not a right or wrong answer, right? It was just out of interest. Yeah. It was just out of interest.
No, you're right.
You've already upset me twice.
Oh no, I'm sorry. But I would like to do maybe a different version in the future that's still Cardano themed, but has different characters.
I think as the ecosystem evolves, it will give you those kind of opportunities, right? You'll kind of see different personalities kind of come up and drop out and introduce themselves to the community, and and so that'll just be like the natural part of being part of a community, I guess. So in 2 or 3 years, you might have a completely different like version 2 or something like that,
right?
And then maybe one day I'll get a chance. I'm not going to drop it. I'm not going to drop it.
I did say promo cards are an option, right? So
yeah, I'm going to do my own.
Okay.
So who's doing the artwork for it then?
Oh, that would be me.
You're doing all the artwork as well?
Yep.
Oh, mate, that's awesome. And
thank you.
With your art, do you prefer digital art, or do you prefer do you have like a sketchbook that you particularly enjoy doing by hand?
I do prefer digital just because it's really easy to work with, and you can get different effects that you can't get physically. There is something to physical artwork though that just can't be replicated. Sometimes digital, like the old school Magic cards with like hand painted paintings, look very different. So there's something to that, but I am currently working mostly digital, so it's just something.
That's like fine. I was just interested. It doesn't. I'm not judging you, right? I used to do loads of graffiti.
Nice.
I grew up doing art, and I love art, and I never really pursued it because I was more interested in music, to be honest. But I got really into graffiti, and I used to do like characters and not tagging or anything like that. But when I was living in Cardiff, me and a bunch of my mates used to go out. We did events, we did some restaurants, we did a couple of festivals. We did like the breakdancing world championship qualifier in the UK and stuff like that. But we ended up doing loads of crazy stuff, and like people's gardens as well. Like they'd see you painting in one place, and then they'd be like, "Oh my god, I'd love like a dog in my garden, like, or a couple of monkeys, and stuff like that." And it was just for fun. We never really made any money doing it, but it was a really, really cool thing to do, and I just loved it. I used to have paint all over my hands all the time because it just sprays back on your hands, right? And I'd get it all up my clothes. And people used to think, like, I had this jacket. People thought that it was like bought with all these different flecks of color. And people would I'd be out somewhere and they'd be like, "Oh my God, your jacket's so cool. Like, look at all these colors." I'd be like, "Yeah, I keep wearing it out spray painting. So I keep getting it all over me." And they'd be like, "Oh, I thought it was like bought like that." And I'd be like, "Oh no, next week it'll be green. And this week it's purple." Right. So, but yeah. I love art. I've got a Wacom tablet now, nothing particularly fancy,
nice.
But it's so useful. And like sometimes I was helping ADA with some design work, and I was like, "Yeah, let's just do it now, right?" And I just pull the tablet out and I plug it in. And I got Photoshop up, and I'm just sketching away. Like, let's design the thing, let's wireframe it. And so it's mostly for stuff like that now. But I love it, and I find other people's art really inspiring as well, because like I understand the the kind of energy that goes into it. And I see stuff and I'm like, oh my God, that's so cool. And so it makes me a sucker for NFTs. Although, to be honest, NFTs kind of put me off it a little bit because if I very quickly just saw it as like a churn for money. And then like, I just got a bit disenchanted with the whole thing. So only a handful of NFTs that I ever invested in. Yeah.
No. Well,
that's my art journey.
Hey, it is a cool concept, like a way for artists to connect with anyone in the world and sell their art to anyone in the world without having to go through a third party or ship like large paintings or something like that.
Yeah.
So there's lots of benefits, but you're right. There is a lot of
it's a bit of both, right?
Yeah,
it's a bit of both,
yeah.
You know. I don't dislike anyone for making NFTs, you know. I don't care. I'm just not that interested in buying them quite often. The only exception really is the Cardano buds. Do you know buds?
Yeah.
And it's just because I was also a stoner when I was a kid, so there's a bit of a thing there. And I'm like, oh my God, yeah, I remember that. You know, and I got excited about when I was young, and I was just a bit crazy, right? So yeah, that's it really. But yeah, cool. That's awesome that you're doing all the art for it yourself. Yeah, mate, that's cool. I'm just waiting for that Stoic card, right? Stoic card.
Yeah, right. Yes.
So have you considered making this like a digital game as well?
Yeah, I mean, for this proposal, this is just focused on getting the physical game made, but there are definitely ways we could do a digital version. Doing a DApp would be a lot more extensive. So I guess that would be something in the future to look at. But after the game's released, we could put this on Tabletop Simulator or Tabletopia. And that would be a pretty easy way to get a digital version that people could play.
Okay. And that, I guess that's just like a card game kind of platform, like an emulator platform or something.
Yeah. You can get Tabletop Simulator on Steam, and you can play all sorts of tabletop games on there.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So, and Tabletopia is kind of the same thing, except it's free, so you don't have to pay anything for it. But yeah,
that's a bit of me right there.
Yeah, but it's a way for people to try games, right, before they buy, and that seems to be actually a pretty good experience for people. So
yeah, well, I mean, I guess that you could even, because of the way that you've designed the deck, worst comes to worst, you could just use a regular old card deck to try out the game, couldn't you? And then you can actually buy the proper product if you enjoy it. You
could just put dots that match the cards on.
Oh shit! I forgot about the dots. Yeah, just make some dots. Just paint a couple dots, right? A couple 3 dots. Yeah. Wicked, mate. I mean, this is one of those things, right? That it's a really creative thing, right? Making a game, you know, it's not just like doing a picture, all right, or like writing a song or something, which are obviously incredibly creative, but there's so much more that goes into game design, because it's not just about making that art, but you have got to have mechanics, and it's got to be fun. So it has to be the right balance of challenging and rewarding, and to have that kind of interaction between players and make something competitive. Like, I mean, well done for designing something like that, because I can't imagine it was easy.
Thank you.
So it's really cool. It's really cool. And I really hope that that this is a successful proposal for you and that you get printed, because it would just be really cool to see a Stoic card one day, you know. And so we need to get this first round done.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun to play, so I'm really excited to be able to share it with everybody. So hopefully I do get their support. And there's also some good involved with it as well.
I'm glad we're getting on to this. Yeah, so tell us about the sustainability. Tell us about all the other things that are coming as part of this proposal.
Right. So with standard card game manufacturing, there's not a lot of consideration for where the materials are coming from, or the impact on the environment. So we wanted to, since we care about that with our stake pool, we want to make that a priority. So we're looking to use FSC certified paper. So it comes from responsible forests. And then as much post-consumer waste product as possible. So stuff that has already been used and then recycled. So you're not using fresh materials to do this. And then as little plastic as possible that we can use for the game. So just things that we can do. And then as well, we wanted to do donations to ocean cleanup and tree planting. So for tree planting, looking to work with Veritree on that. So I don't have anything fully worked out with that yet. I mean, worst case, we can just donate, but there's a possibility of having like a redemption code card that they can then go and redeem on the Veritree website. So
yeah, as part of purchasing a deck.
Yeah. So that would be a fun little extra bit. So
you know what? All right. Whilst you were explaining that is fantastic, by the way. And it'd be really nice to kind of understand what could be recycled, like what level of stuff can actually be reused. You know,
right.
like how does that actually look? Because I think this is quite an important part of it. And I know we've had a bit of fun and we messed around a little bit. Actually, this is quite important to share, right? So let's learn a little bit about this while we're on the subject.
Sure. So I mean, it's easy and cheap for manufacturers to just use fresh product, fresh paper. It doesn't have to be dyed, and the chemicals used on the paper don't have to be removed or anything like that. But if you use recycled paper for your products, it's just better because it's already, especially post-consumer waste, because that means it's actually been used for something, like, say, cardboard boxes that have actually been used to ship products. Then that material gets bought and then turned into something new. So it's actually had a life cycle. Whereas like pre-consumer waste, it could just be waste from like cuttings from boxes that have been already manufactured but haven't actually been used for anything. Both are good, but post-consumer waste is better. So just because you actually got new use out of it and then you're reusing it again. And yeah, the material is a little more expensive to use, but not necessarily a lot more. And that way, you know, less trees are getting cut down to make your product, especially if you're just reusing materials that have already been used once. And and the less plastic, the better, because plastic does not break down nicely. Plastic generally ends up in the ocean and breaks down into microplastics, and those just kind of get into everything. And that's kind of a huge problem because it can affect like the reproduction of fish and their feeding and overall health. And then microplastics can also get into us when we eat those fish. So also not good. So
yeah, and that's actually why I don't eat fish. You know, any other meat is all right. Well, actually, it's more of the smell. It's more of the smell. Yeah, I don't think I ever really thought about the microplastics when I was putting anything in my mouth before. But it's such an important thing, right? And you know what's really frustrating about this kind of thing, because like I'll make a joke about it, but obviously it's very serious because of the impact that it has. But I think it's gotten to the point where I grew up being told in school that we needed to do something about the environment. I'm 31, right? So it's been going on for quite a while now, and it seems like there are very slow steps that are being taken to kind of improve and iterate over time. And you think, like, why hasn't it been addressed properly? You know, why hasn't there been a coordinated effort to actually address these things? And I think half of the problem is that people are like adults now are a bit disenchanted with it all, right? Because everyone's like, oh yeah, blood, the environment, all right, mate. You know what I mean? Like we haven't heard that before. And I think that becomes its own problem. And it's very tough to tackle because you can't get people passionate about the environment after they've lost that enthusiasm, you know. Right. And it's a real challenge that anyone working for any kind of environmental cause kind of has to face and deal with.
Well, I mean, people, if you know you're gonna make something, like if you make a game or t-shirts or whatever kind of products, you can always take the steps of making it more sustainable. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, by taking those steps initially, you're solving a lot of problems that could potentially happen later on in the chain. So you may as well start from a good spot, and you can actually do something about it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's necessary, right? And it's getting to the point where it's getting more and more necessary. Like, it's not slowing down, right? And so
I guess you're right. It's easy to get disenchanted with it, the whole concept. The downside is that when things eventually go bad, even worse. Like, there's nothing you can do to stop it really at that point. So better to fix things sooner than later, and it'd be nice to see more action in general. I guess that leaders have to take that role too, right? Not just the average person.
No, absolutely. And it doesn't start at any end of the chain. It's got to come across the chain, and it's good to start in both directions and work together. But ultimately, it's not any one person or any one group's responsibility to do that kind of thing. It has to be everyone, and we have to all work together for it. And this is just one of those simple steps. That's one of those steps where you can be like, look, I'm going to make sure that everything that this is made with is recycled, or what was I can't remember the exact word to say it, but like post-consumer, right? Post-consumer products, which is amazing. That's amazing.
If you can, right?
Yeah. Obviously within reason, right? If you don't have access to it, it's hard to do it. It's like with stake pool operators. A lot of people people expect some level of renewable energy or renewable resources, but that kind of infrastructure just isn't available to everyone. And so it's very hard to, it's easy to encourage that kind of behavior, but it's not easy for everyone to actually access all the time. And I think we're quite lucky in Europe, because a lot of places like Germany, for example, have data centers that run off mostly, if not all, renewable energy. And so a lot of stake pool operators have that kind of access, and it's lucky. It's fortunate to be able to do that kind of thing. And I think if you can, you kind of have an obligation to do so. Like, it's kind of like your duty as part of the global community to take those kind of steps.
Definitely.
So what I was going to say was, before I said, anyone could just buy any old cards and give it a try, right? But one of the beauties of actually having your deck be the same as a regular card deck means if someone has bought your cards, they could use them to potentially play any other card game as well. So it's cross-compatible.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Smart man. Brian with the brains.
I didn't actually think of that myself. You did, though.
I thought you were going to pull it on me, actually, when I said it.
Oh, no.
So how much are you actually asking? I can't see the proposal right in front of me. I'm trying to find it frantically so I can find out. But what's the score,
Yeah, so the total cost we're looking at is 63,000 USD. And that, sorry, go ahead.
I just said, yeah.
Oh, okay. So, and that's just to include everything. So the manufacturing and production, shipping the product, marketing and legal, and then taxes on top of that, because we'll have to pay taxes for it as well.
Yeah. And how many decks of cards are you planning on batching out from this?
40,000 of.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So,
okay.
Because we want to not only be able to, sell it to people who love Cardano, but also get it into brick and mortar stores so that, people who haven't had an experience with Cardano before, but no games, can see this and be like, "Ooh, this is new," and maybe give it a shot.
And also people who like those kind of games, or tabletop games or card games that you play with friends, tend to like to try new games as well, right? Like my family still love playing games at Christmas or whatever. They'll all buy new games to play. And then we'll all find a chance when we're all a bit tipsy and a bit full. We'll always try and find some games to play, right? And we'll try loads of stuff. We'll try anything, because everything can be fun, right? And it's nice just to learn new stuff and try and find new ways to be competitive. basically. Be competitive.
Yes. I mean, you could be cooperative too with this game. You could, if you are playing with a larger group of
Everyone
people.
Team up against Mum. Yeah, no, I see that. I see that happening.
Like that. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah,
you could split into teams too if you wanted to, if you had enough people. But yeah. So, right. So we were talking about 40,000 for the core game, but we're also doing a premium version as well with 1,000 decks. And how we're working that is that's a reward for people who have staked with our stake pool. So people who stake with Gaia get digital FT versions of the cards every month, and then they can redeem those if they have a full set for one of these premium printed versions, which should be fully foiled.
Oh, wow. So how many do they earn per month? Is it like one card per epoch or something?
So we were doing like one card the first week of, one or two cards the first week of every month. It was kind of based on how many we had available at the time, just because we wanted to time it with the release. So we were doing two because we had too much, like we were farther along with the art and didn't want to like still be giving out cards a year after the game is released. We wanted people to be able to.
That's the risk, right? That's the risk. If it was like one every epoch, that's 73 cards a year, which is all right. That's a whole day and a couple extras, right? But what if it's random cards, or if it's in order? You know, maybe you do one suit at a time, or the other thing that I was thinking is maybe they would just be redeemable vouchers. You know, where it's not necessarily a specific card, but you just need 52 of them, and you can redeem them for a deck. You know, so that's kind of what I was trying to find out.
Okay. Yes, you do need one of every card, one of each 52.
And is it just random?
Oh, no, people get them in order. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So if they've been staking since the beginning, and they continue to stake, they'll get all of the cards.
Just 52 epochs, guys. Of rewards. You know, there's nothing wrong with delegating to Gaia, right? You're supporting, you're supporting a cause as well, and earning yourself a free deck of cards.
Right. Yes. So
I wasn't playing it down.
Oh,
it's a great marketing strategy,
bonus, right?
Yeah. Hell yeah! I'm going to stake. What's the minimum delegation required?
10 ADA, the minimum amount that you have to.
I can do that. I can definitely do that.
So yeah, you'll be able to redeem those cards for that premium version if you have a full set. Basically, we've minted 1,000 cards, like 1,000 FTs per card so far, because that was like, the redemption amount. But because we still want to do like one per delegator kind of thing, for the later cards, if we have more delegators, we could go up from there. Because either way, the first card was minted at 1,000, so you'll only be able to redeem 1,000 of those decks anyways. So
yeah, and if you're only making 1,000 of these special edition ones, then it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah,
because there's only going to be 1,000.
Yeah.
So how many delegators do you have at the minute? I'm just trying to figure out if it's worth getting involved.
I have 200 right now.
So there's plenty of space for a couple of casual whales to join Gaia Pool.
Awesome to have you. Yeah. So perfect. We also do giveaways sometimes too for you to get those cards that you might have missed. So
that's handy as well. That's handy because if they're coming out in order, then this time next year it's going to be over, right? Or are you just going to keep cycling it until you get rid of all of those cards?
No, you're right. Once the game is released and people have redeemed the card, once the game is released and those cards will have been distributed, we'll probably move on to the cryptid version of Captivate, right?
So, I've forgotten all about that.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
So then we'll be able to get like Sasquatch and Dogman and Mothman.
Dogman.
Yeah.
Who's
Yeah.
Dogman?
Dogman is like basically a werewolf. There's a lot of stories about Dogman encounters, and the descriptions are very much like werewolves. It's very interesting. So
in Wales, there's like a dog. I think it's a very classical kind of like a cryptozoology, isn't it? Like a werewolf or a big dog of some kind. And I can't remember what it's called for the life of me because it's Welsh, so it's like a very odd name for a thing. But it's basically like it marks like the death of someone.
Oh, wow.
So if you ever see him, if you're about Wales and you see that dog, right, you get out of there. Let someone else see him. Try not to look if you can, right? Because it's not good times. It's not good times.
Yeah. Don't want to encounter any omens of death.
Yeah, and don't get me started on the dragons. That's not an omen. That's basically a guarantee, right? Barbecued Rhys for dinner. Delicious. Cool, mate. Like this has been so much fun, right? Because I've just had loads of fun talking to you. To be honest with you, Brian. Sorry about that.
No,
I think this is a really cool proposal, right? And I think so. I was already excited about it, and that's just because it's so different to what most proposals are, and it comes from a completely different angle, and it's all about bringing people together and enjoying company, right? And having fun and building that. And I think that's really important. So if there's anything I can do to help out with this, mate, you just let me know. And you don't need to make a Stoic card, right? I'm only teasing you. I won't be upset about it. I'll just never buy it. That's all.
Oh, okay.
Cool. So if people want to delegate to you, GAIA Stake Pool, I'll get a link if you can, or I'll get your pool ID and I'll share that in the description below, guys. So if you want one of those special edition decks, there's plenty of space still for you to get your hands on one. How much are you planning on selling these decks for?
Probably around $20 Canadian.
Perfect. That's like I think it's what's the exchange on that? What's that in pounds?
Let's find out.
Why don't you know? I think it's like £7 or £8. I think.
Okay. Yeah, your money's worth more than ours.
I hope so.
Oh wow. Yeah.
My ADA.
Pound, 1.65 Canadian dollars. Ooh.
Oh really?
Yeah.
So it'd be about £12.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a reasonable price, I think. It's a very like it's a big project, right? And it's not an unreasonable amount of money, for a deck of cards. And you can play any card game with them as well, except Pokemon. But everything else you can play. Everything else. Yeah. Hey, I really wish you all the best with this. I really want to play it. I just want to play. Like I love playing games, right? And I like anything that I can play with people, right? Like in real life. So I love playing card games. I love chess, although no one ever wants to play with me. I've got a sheep versus dragons chessboard.
That's awesome.
It is pretty awesome. But it never comes out because Danny, my girlfriend, doesn't play chess. So it's just sat in a box at the minute, gathering dust. It's hard life. Hopefully they haven't eaten each other.
Oh my gosh. There's gotta be somebody who'll play chess with you that's local. There must be, right? But I just I'm too busy. I think it's easy to blame other people, right? But in fact, it's my fault. I'm not playing chess. Well, listen, Brian, thank you so much for joining me. Like I've had loads of fun. I'm going to share all the links to everything we've spoken about. His proposal, information on carbon neutral, climate neutral, Veritree, everything we've spoken about. The links to his pool. Consider delegating to GAIA as well because you can get yourself a free stake pool and stake pool. You get yourself a free deck of cards eventually, and you're supporting an eco-friendly and mission-driven causes as well. So that's fantastic. All right, Brian, is there anything I've missed, mate? Oh no! Else? Thank you so much, Rhys. It's been great to be on with you.
It's been so much fun. Yeah,
hopefully we'll be able to play the game in person together sometime.
Yeah. If you're ever in London, let us know. Just bring some. I've got some cards at home. So yeah, and when you release them fully, I'll have myself a deck as well.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, mate. And if there's anything I can do to help you with this as well, you just let me know.
Right, guys, that's it for this episode of Catalyst Talk. If you like what you've seen, as always, give us a like, subscribe for more Cardano and Stoic related videos every week. Don't forget to vote for Brian's proposal connecting tabletop games and Cardano in Catalyst Fund 8. Voting's happening in just a couple of weeks. Otherwise, guys, check out Brian. Consider delegating to GAIA Stake Pool as well, where you can earn the cards for yourself so that you can get yourself one of those special edition decks. Otherwise, guys, I will catch up with you in the next one. See you then.